Leader Davidsmeyer.
So you mentioned a shortage of deaf interpreters. Are you aware that deaf and hard of hearing interpreters are paid significantly less than foreign language interpreters? And there's certification for deaf and hard of hearing. Is there certification for a foreign language interpreter? Do you know?
So currently the charges for a sign language interpreter, they are independent contractors, so they control their own rates. I do not know, unfortunately, how that compares. The certification test for sign language interpreters is very different than a foreign language interpreter, primarily because of the type of test. With foreign language, they're a verbal test that's more easily administered. With sign language interpreters, they have to come in and there's a video portion of that test to be able to assess their skills.
Okay, and I understand that they're technically private contractors, but my concern is the state has a rate that they pay when it's a state service. My understanding is the governor pays a higher rate when you're working for the governor, but when you're working for the rest of the state, it's a lower rate. And then say your school district or your city council will base their rate off of what the state says they will pay. And so while you're a private contractor, they believe what the state says is the going rate. And so my concern is if we're trying to recruit people into this space and requiring the amount of education that's required and the training, certification, we have to be paying a wage that makes people go into that system. And I'm blessed to have grown up in a community that has a large deaf population, so I understand the need.
Absolutely, and the only rate that the state has approved, is my understanding, is through the Division of Rehabilitation Services.
Okay.
So that rate does not extend to the rest of the state agencies.
Okay.
And with regard to the recruitment, educational interpreters is actually regulated by the State Board of Education, and I cannot disagree. They are significantly underpaid. While community licensed interpreters face the shortage, educational interpreters have even a larger shortage. And
sure.
Pay is number one concern they have.
And I will say that on the educational side, I think in any career, whether it's nursing, whether it's interpreting, whether it's education, I think we're lacking on the educational side of all of it. So anything we can do, if you have ideas on how to encourage people to get into that space, we'd be happy to help. And I'm glad you mentioned the interpreter services, because I want to make sure that people understand that as we look at using more technology, that it's not a cheaper option, right? Generally, we are paying a higher amount for these telecommunications services than we do for an actual person that shows up to interpret. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that it's not a cheaper option, that if we can grow our own interpreters, we're much better off. Correct?
Absolutely, and in person.
Not to put words in your mouth, so thank you.
Absolutely, an in-person interpreter, though, is also typically the preference, because a three-dimensional language does not as effectively transfer into a two-dimensional world of a video. So most of the deaf individuals in Illinois especially, they do prefer having that in person. And the other thing you see with the video remote interpreters is they often work for a company. So that also changes the cost of working directly with an interpreter as an independent contractor.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.